And then the other thing that someone wiser than me once said is there's no greater than be of service to others.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, very
Good
much
point.
agree with that.
Yeah, so we get ourselves out of our own head, help other people. It's good for them.
Absolutely.
And good for us.
So just redefine those points again. What were they? So,
Righto.
Hey, I'm Ange.
And I'm Beck.
And we are the Gold Diggers. Because we believe there's gold found in everyone.
Everyone is unique, interesting and exciting with a great story to share.
And we aim to find it.
The question is, can we rise to the challenge and strike gold?
I need your my sugar.
So today's podcast is really interesting. Just some healthy things on how to stay living your best life, basically, for as long as possible. Derek Rogers has a wealth of knowledge to share with us.
yeah, so he's a wellness coach and he shares 5 key tips of how to live a life of longevity.
I need your my sugar.
So this is how it works. One of us knows our special guest and the other doesn't. And today, it's not me, but it's Beck that is going to be interviewing our guest today. And his name is Derek Rogers.
Right.
So these are the 3 things I've got for you.
Yeah.
He trains or coaches people to live happier, healthier lives.
Yes.
He's been in education pretty much all his life in lots of different facets.
Yeah.
And he knows that he's going to live to 120 years old.
Right.
Wow.
There you
Isn't that
go.
interesting?
That is interesting. My grandma lived to 99.
I know, I was thinking
close to
120.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So, welcome to Derek. Thank you for joining us in the studio.
Yeah, thank you, Angela, for having me, and thank you, Beck.
Pleasure. Well, let's get into it, shall we?
Sure.
So, what part of your life led you into coaching?
So I've naturally, being a teacher, you're coaching your students.
You're already teaching,
You're doing that in a informal form. And then when I studied NLP, you realise, that's just some of the teaching questions we do. You know, tell me more about that. You know, what else could you do? And so it's just an extension of that. And then I did a big personal development course 10 years ago, which the premise is, what does it take to have an extraordinary life? And so that's all about looking within and realising that we've got to get ourselves out of the way of our own life and look at the beliefs we have that are holding us back. And
How did you know you were not happy in those areas? Because sometimes I think when we're in relationships, we can get stuck in a rut, but we don't realise that we are. Or, in our job, it's part of our daily routine. Like, when did you become aware that this wasn't satisfying you?
I think just that natural state of comparing yourself to others. I was single and most of my friends were married, although a lot of them weren't, as I found out, not happily married. And so I'd moved away from Melbourne and then came back 13 years later. And so I just wanted to catch up with my mates again, and then they'd married and had kids in the meantime. And so they'd moved on, and I was sort of like in the middle of this in-between where I just wanted to slip back in, but things weren't the same. And then I split up with my partner from South Australia, and then I was single, and then I just found it just wasn't working. I was just dating for a while, and it just only lasting a few months, and then I'm going, what's going on? So then it was that asking myself, what's wrong with me? Who am I being that I'm attracting possibly the wrong person? Or who am I being that I'm repelling? And so I just wanted better results with personal relationships for a start. And then I looked at my brother, and he was doing some finance courses and looking at property and shares and things. And because I was single and I'd been divorced a few years ago, and most, with the kids, most of the wife gets the money and that, and I didn't have much money, and I thought, right, I'm behind the 8 ball, I should be a lot more. And then you go and do this course, and then they said, you're at this age, you should be at this level with 3.5 kids and 2.7 cars and houses and properties. And I'm going, holy, I'm nowhere near that. And so that was just that judging and comparing of what's normal. And then of course that makes you feel bad, and you think, well, I get two options. I can either just whinge and moan, or I can do something about it. And so I just went on this journey of learning, what can I do, and how can I be a better person. And then I learnt the more I work on myself, the better the person I'll be, but also the better the quality of the person and the people I will attract into my life.
So you really had to restart again, I guess. And it sounds like there was a lot of reflection time there during that space between your divorce and this next stage. And so tell us, where did you go from there? How did that develop?
Yeah, so I did the courses and training, and that was probably opened up my eyes to personal growth, personal development. And because the guy that ran the course, he found that just doing a weekend of showing people how to do property and how to do shares, people just weren't getting it. And then he realised he had to spend another whole day to change their mindset first. That you can't go from an employee mindset to a self-employed or to an entrepreneur mindset like that. You've got to shift your conditioning and your programming. And the first thing he said is, this is going to be about your BS. And he said, no bull, your belief systems. And then that was just a big can of worms. I went, oh my God. And so just looking within, and I just went, wow, this stuff's fascinating. So then I just did stuff with Tony Robbins and Chris Howard, a lot of that NLP stuff that came to Australia in the early 2000s and things, and learnt more and more, and did all the global landmark education, did the whole curriculum for 3 years, like doing a degree on yourself.
Were there any things that specifically stood out to you in that were just like a light bulb moment that you didn't know about yourself?
I suppose those answers I wanted to what was, not sort of what was wrong with me, but why were my relationships there was this pattern, they were only lasting a few months. And I found that light bulb answer for me was when people want to have the next relationship, to do that, you've got to let your guard down. And if you've been hurt, the first thing you do is you put a wall up. And that's just human response. And so I'm with these women who wanted to have a relationship, and the guard would go down, but then something would trigger them and bang, the wall would go back up again. And of course you can't actually see it, and a lot of us don't actually recognise it. Then there was just, it's nothing about you, it's nothing about you, it's about me. And I'm going, what's going on? So I learned that it's just a lot of the people were in that space. And so I wanted to then connect myself with people who had done the work and more comfortable, and being comfortable in your own skin. And so that was a real light bulb moment. That
understanding, because you've got an understanding of human behaviour now. You've obviously looked at yourself. You're now helping other people through that process. Do you think that helps you to connect with people, or could hinder you in some ways, because you probably can see people on a deeper level or a deeper understanding? And so, I don't know whether that sometimes you would see people's hurt and pain a little bit more, and how that impacts their behaviour. And does that make you then put your barriers up? Like, how's your response to that when you see that in other people?
It can go both ways, for sure. Yeah. But I'm grateful for the training that it gives me the ability to see that basically the premise is everyone on the planet is doing the best they can with their mindset and the skills and tools that they have. Are they the best decisions? No. Do people hurt people? Yes. But I've learnt that just human beings are we're all just trying to do the best we can. And so it allows me to have compassion for people. I don't get upset with people's reactions a lot. But yes, I can see what's going on for people. I can see through people quite quickly a lot. And then I've got to remind myself that my job is not to try and fix people. Some people are not ready for help, and they're just in their own journey. And so, then you go, oh God, I know someone that could help them, and it's not me, but I could put them there. And then especially the people that I'm close to and love in my life, and I can see that the people they're with that are hurting them, and I'm, you just want to help people, and so that it can be a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, I get that. I read a book by Brené Brown. I don't know if you like her stuff.
Yeah, she's great.
And she obviously did this research about people's responses to situations, and she came to the conclusion that everyone's just trying and doing the best that they can. And when I think you look at people with that mindset, that they're just trying the best that they can. I mean, that may be true. There may be a small percentage where that's probably not the case. But generally, people are doing the best that they can. I think if you view people with that mindset, it really helps you to have that compassion and that understanding, doesn't it?
It does. And you do have to do a fair bit of training and work, because you'll just say, no, that's not right, it's not fair and all of that. But, yeah, I mean, I just love learning about people and stuff. And
you're looking at all areas of life, aren't you? So not just exercise and nutrition. You're also talking mental health and, you know, you said about nature. Do you think that there's kind of that connection with being in nature and supporting your mental health? And
and so I'm blessed because I had that background in scouting, where we're outdoors and we're hiking, biking, climbing, bushwalking every second weekend. And immersed in nature. My first job was working on a golf course. It was like being in a national park. And so I was outdoors. I loved the outdoors, and at the beach, growing up at the beach house. And so I've always enjoyed being in nature. And then when I learnt that the wellbeing science says that nature is good for you, and I go, well, that's obvious. And then they're like, because being in a concrete jungle city is not good for us. You go, of course it makes sense. You know, the last million years we didn't evolve in a concrete jungle.
That's
and then
right.
You put mankind in the concrete city in the last 100 years, and you wonder why he's going, something doesn't feel right. And so
I love watching a sunset. Like I would just love to sit there. We've got a beautiful view across the valley. And one of my favourite things is, if I've got time out, I'd love to just sit there and watch the sunset. Now, what does that do to your brain by spending that time just watching something as simple as watching a sunset?
Yeah, allows us to just connect with nature and breathe. Our whole nervous system just goes... So whether you're watching the sun rise or the sun set, it's nature is mesmerising. You know, a beautiful sunset, it goes, wow.
Yeah. It's
So
amazing.
that awe, that breathing, and just being present and stopping and just fully appreciating something just helps reset our whole system.
It's even taking that time, isn't it? Because the sunset can be slow. So to have to sit there and allow yourself to slow down with the sunset, that is really relaxing, isn't it?
That's it. And watch the colours change, because
Yeah.
now look at it. Now look at it. And the colours change.
I think it gives you this sense of vastness, that there's something so much bigger than your problems, you know, out there. And you the sunset usually comes with a beautiful landscape of some sort.
Yeah.
And I think it just opens your eyes to the world is far bigger than
So
just
true,
my little
Ange.
world and my little problem.
It's like
and
watching the sky at night and just seeing that there's something so much greater than us.
That's
Yeah.
right. We actually sat and watched the sunset yesterday
It's
together, didn't we?
beautiful. So
On Malulabar
lovely.
Beach, we'd been for a walk and we were sat on the bench and the sun was going down and
The
it was
silhouette of the
stunning.
mountains.
And a
It's
little
just
dolphin
amazing.
just kind of came out of the ocean.
It's just like, if you could just capture that moment
yeah,
and
it
replay,
was.
it's
Yeah.
amazing.
And so that's nature is saying, stop, you silly humans, look at me,
Yeah.
get off your phone,
Yeah.
spend time in nature. Nature nurtures us. Nature grounds us, connects us, heals us. Just that greenness, that green colour. You know, the wellbeing science now is saying that in hospitals they painted the walls green, and they found that people
The
15%
calming
healed
colour,
quicker.
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I guess our bodies were designed to be in nature, weren't they?
That's right. And, you know, we all know that when we go for a walk along the beach, we feel better. We all know when we go for a walk in a forest and we go feel better. Our challenge in our modern fast-paced / crazy world is to structure that in. And so that's why I love helping people is they know about it. They've heard about it. Yes, they've experienced it. But, I haven't got time. Oh, yes, I should do that. Well, shoulds and I haven't got time.
It's the whole stop and smell the roses thing.
Stop and smell the
isn't it?
roses. So that's why I do a wellbeing walk post with flowers and things, and just stop. What did you notice today?
Yeah,
What did you notice? And
So I believe this all contributes to you living to 120. So that was one of our final points, wasn't it?
That's a long time to live.
So what's the
Could be.
plan to live for that long? Like, what are the things that are that you have implemented in your life that you know is going to give you longevity?
So I've always been healthy. I've always eaten healthy food. I've always been active. So we know those basic building blocks for longevity. Social connection. So I'm an extrovert. So that's not a problem. The big problem at the moment is social anxiety for a lot of people, and that's getting worse since COVID.
Why do you think that is?
Because COVID, you were told to stay away from people, particularly Melbourne and Sydney, our brothers and sisters down there, and then you can come together. And I remember the first time we went in a car and we were allowed to go out, and it was just like, this isn't right, because we'd been conditioned, stay apart, stay apart, stay apart, don't connect, even in a car. Should we be breathing? Should we have masks? Oh my God, should we be,
I think social media contributes to it as well, because you get used to having relationships or friendships or communication online where you're not face to face, and so that when you do come face to face,
Yes, true.
yeah, I think people can almost feel they can be more themselves online than they can in person.
Yeah.
It is, and and if you got kids, but my kids, it's all about texting, and the face to face is they're uncomfortable.
I
Yeah.
find I don't like making phone calls, but I'm happy to text.
Yeah, I'm
Isn't that
exactly the
funny?
same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That is strange.
And
yeah.
but I love being with people.
But we
phone
grew up
calls
making
are-
phone calls because
I
we didn't have
know.
text. But
Yeah.
we're still the same.
But it just feels like I don't know, there's a disconnect between talking on a phone and talking in person. But I really would much rather text than make a phone call.
To me, though, that's simply the fact that we live really busy lives and it takes time out. You almost have to withdraw to make a phone call, and you don't know how long it's going to go, whereas a text, you're in
true.
control of the time.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and
it.
it's safer, it's impersonal, and so our brain will take the easiest option
Yeah.
and the less threatening. So we're hardwired for that. And so the trouble is the more you text, then when you have to make a phone call, this anxiety comes in. Yeah. And then if you have to go and meet somebody face to face, then it's like more anxiety.
Yeah.
And so there's so many people now around the world who've just got that anxiety, and I'm hearing about it and reading about it more and
Sad, isn't
more.
it? Yeah.
Unfortunately, yeah. And so
Because I think during COVID, we really missed our interaction, and almost we really longed for human interaction again. But I think, like you're saying, it was like, what does that look like after COVID? How do people get back together and in contact, and that human to human conversation?
Yeah. So connection is obviously a very key to longevity. What were some of the other things?
Yeah, so moving, apparently our body's designed to move. It wasn't
Yeah.
designed to sit, and now the sedentary lifestyle is killing us slowly. So we're designed, and it's got you 10,000 steps a day. So, that's one of the things. So with my wife, she just she can do that. Come on, all right, so we're going off for a walk, and all right, let's go. And then walk and talk. And then also I've learnt for relationships, it's very good for me to walk beside her and just go,
Yes, dear.
do you get to
Yes,
talk
dear.
as well?
yeah, and she just lets it all out about her
We all
work
know
and blah
that
blah blah.
Yeah.
And then I get to have a nice wife who's calm, and we can sit down and have our evening together. Because before that, I was just going, "Hang on, honey, what have you tried this? You tried that?" And then that would take hours. And then she didn't want to hear that. And then of course, don't coach me. I've got in trouble doing that.
But you've got to let her offload, don't you?
I've
Just
got to let
it
her
all
vent.
off.
So that was sort of a bit of a wise aha moment. So yeah, we need to move.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm lucky. I'm a sporty person, so that's not
Yeah.
a problem. And eat clean food.
Yeah.
So what I mean by clean food and low HI food, so human interfered with food. And so I've got a hort background in my 3 generations of growing my own fruit and veggies. So I love doing that, and it's better for you, it tastes better, and it's good connecting, all of that, getting your hands in nature, grounding, lots of beautiful stuff.
Yeah.
And thank goodness during COVID, a lot of people were starting to grow their own fruit and veggies. Well, not so much fruit, but veggies where you can get something within a couple of months in Melbourne and Sydney. That was great. Hopefully they've continued that and haven't just done the easy option. Clean food, low human interfered with food, clean food that comes from nature, doesn't come from chemist.
Yeah.
Whole foods.
Industrial chemist.
Yeah.
Whole foods, that's right. Not foods in it with a hole
I
in
guess
them.
sleep's in there somewhere, is it?
So sleep's in there. So sleep is very important for, so the latest research says if you're having less than 6 hours of solid sleep a night, it's doing you harm.
That's me.
And regularly,
I love
it'll do you
sleep.
permanent harm. And for women,
Wow.
it's going to triple your chances of breast cancer alone.
Really?
wow.
Less
So-
than 6 hours.
Less than 6 hours.
Right.
Yeah, so 6 to 9.
Oh, well.
Sleeping pills for you, Ange.
I'm going to have to just knock me out
Whoa.
with a hammer.
Okay. So no
I was
sleep.
joking.
Yeah. So sleeping pills is the last resort.
Yeah,
so there's
yeah.
lots of things you can do to help you sleep. So we can talk about that. I can do another
See,
whole podcast on
melatonin even.
sleep.
I take these melatonin things and they can help you drift off to sleep, but they
Yeah.
don't help you stay asleep. It's
yeah,
the
you have
staying
to have that
asleep.
wind down, don't you? Like you have to wind
You
your
do,
body.
and so there's that hour they talk about of being off your devices, off electronics, off bright lights to help your melatonin
Yeah.
naturally. And then you can't just go from watching an action movie to I'll just jump into bed and expect your brain to just be calm. I know if I'm watching something and then your brain just plays over it. So we knew that you can't just, there's no button we push, or no, you can't twist your ear or it just turn off automatically. And so you do need to learn skills how to say to people, when you go to bed, your body needs a rest, but guess what? Your mind needs a rest as well. What's your strategy for switching your mind off? And then I either just drug myself or I drink myself to sleep, and then you go, yeah, okay.
A friend of mine was saying that she was told to think of just a whole bunch of random words that don't connect to each other, just random things that turns your brain off because it's
Yeah, but
not
then I'd be
actually
thinking, now why did
what
I think
word?
of that? That's completely random. And I'd be going down a whole rabbit warren of why did I think of that word?
Yeah, so now there's great apps on meditation and sleep, and so I got my wife to
But
subscribe.
this is to go off to sleep. See, my issue is not, I have no problem getting to sleep. My problem is staying asleep. And then once I've had a couple of hours sleep, and if I do wake up, it's hard to get back to sleep.
Yeah, and this is also quite common. So there could be a couple of things happening there. There's hormones. There's also bedding. Then get too warm. Like, we've put our winter doona on because it's winter, but then you get a couple of mild nights. And
I'm hot all the
I
time.
just get too hot.
Midlife.
Yeah. But also what happens is our subconscious mind never turns off.
Yeah.
And so if you haven't dealt with stuff during the day, your brain will keep working on it all night.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Oh,
so
that definitely
one of my
happens.
friends, big high-flying lawyer, and he says he gets his best ideas for court at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, yeah.
And I go, okay, what if I could show you a technique where you could get those clarity and those best thoughts for court any time during the day? And he says, oh, don't be silly, I haven't got time for that. And all I do with people is I do a meditation and a mindfulness activity to calm them down. See, our subconscious and through our gut is trying to guide us all day long. We just have to get out of here, tap, 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 to feel this, feel into our heart, to listen to this, to listen to our gut. So if you take time out during the day, those answers will come up. And then also going before bed. So in part of the meditation, I have a notepad beside me. And I'll sit down there and just meditate. And then it comes, I've got to talk to Angela in the morning. Right, write that down. Oh, the Dave, he said to catch up after. It's all right, got to write that down. And go back to your meditation. Oh, hang on, the Beck said, oh, this, right. And so you've got to get out of your head.
Yeah.
When you create that empty space, those answers come up.
My
And-
notebook is, hey Siri, remind me of this.
I was going to say, like the English, you being
Yeah.
from England, have done it very well with their cups of tea. And just spoke to Siri and she just answered. She's adding Derek to the list. Well done, Siri.
Well, there you go. She's always there with me.
And so continuing on those points, what was the last point you were going to tell us?
So sleep, obviously, we discussed, very important, but also when we get out of bed in the morning, this impacts another part of our life, which is really pivotal, and that's having a purpose. So I've learnt in life, and my purpose is to find my purpose, live my purpose, and then share my purpose.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, and so if we don't have that purpose and feel like we've got that to get out of bed in the morning, then I know it will bite us in the bum. And
It's so true, isn't it? Because you often hear of people retiring and then they die early because their work was their purpose.
Yep.
But there is new purpose in retirement that needs to be found as well, isn't there?
Absolutely, and particularly for men, the research shows that men can literally pop off the perch within a couple of years, because if they've identified themselves, particularly males, we go, what do you do? Well, I'm this, and that's that's your job. But we believe that this is me.
Yeah.
And then if you've been doing that for 30, 40 years and then you're suddenly not doing it, well, then who are you?
Yeah.
And then I can't go into the office anymore, I can't do that. And then if you haven't got hobbies and interests along the way, then the just mental health, it just goes right
Honestly,
down.
that's such an important
Yeah,
point
I
right there,
agree.
isn't it?
I agree so much for your mental health, because it helps you to endure trials or challenges, because you've got a sense of something better to come or a goal in mind even that you're working towards.
We all need projects.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether you're just Joe Blow or whether you're a high-performing Olympic athlete.
Yeah.
There's one Olympic athlete when she
Yeah.
won gold medal. What else? And then went downhill
Yeah.
because you think I've reached my pinnacle now. That was my life's work. What
Well, you
next?
see it, don't you, like with movie stars and that, when they're young and they hit a peak in their career, then like, okay, well, what's life got for me now if they've got everything so young? That's why it's kind of important that we actually take these things a bit slower in life.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then the other thing that someone wiser than me once said is there's no greater good we can do than be of service to others.
Yeah, so true.
Yeah, very
Good
much
point.
agree with that.
Yeah, and so we get
Yeah.
ourselves out of our own head, help other people. It's good for them.
Absolutely.
And good for us.
So just redefine those points again. What were they? So,
Righto. So we talked about diet,
Yeah,
clean food,
yeah,
low HI food, human interfered with. We talked about exercise, body's designed to move. In fact, once you get above 36 years of age, after 3 days, your body starts to atrophy or seize up.
Gee.
There's a scary thought.
yes.
Right, so exercise, mindset, positive things with your mind. So 3 keys with your mindset is focus on what's within your control versus what's outside your control. Be in the now. There is only now, and now there's right now. And then the third part of your mindset is to reframe your negative thoughts back into positive thoughts.
So good. Yeah.
Those things alone. So you got your mindset. So diet, exercise, mindset. Sleep is where our body repairs itself. Yeah. And resets itself, heals ourselves.
Yeah.
So 6 hours minimum.
Yeah.
You might need 9. And then connection to people where we're not, even if you're an introvert, we're still got to be connected to other people. Living in a cave might be okay for a month or 2, but years on end is going to do anybody's head in. And then finding that reason to get out of bed in the morning, that passion, that purpose, what is it that's going to fulfill you? And that doesn't have to be about your thing. It can be helping others, being of
Yeah,
service to
beautiful.
others.
Such great points. The English do it very well with cups of tea and do another cup of tea. And that a cup of tea is really,
It's the answer to everything in
it
Britain.
just slows you
Yeah.
down, doesn't it? It makes you have to stop and drink that tea because it's hot.
Yeah.
And then you can be thinking of things that you need to reflect on throughout that day.
That's right.
So there is some sense to that.
Well, it's a good cultural norm to engage people in conversation. Let's have a cup of tea and have a chat about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So on that, let's have a cup of tea and talk some gold.
Let's have a cup of tea, Ash. Well, Derek, there's lots of gold in you. And I love that from your childhood, you've been the big brother, right? And so you've kind of you probably are aware of it, but just overseeing other people. So you've had your younger brothers to oversee. And then as you went into your horticulture and different jobs, also with Scouts, you were overseeing younger people and always had this love of learning, taking more on and improving yourself as well. So when your marriage broke up, you didn't let that break you. You learnt how to become a better person because what you were trying to use to find a new partner wasn't working, so you problem solved. And then you found all these ways of making you a better person, which has then continued on to be that big brother in your coaching realm now in the Thrive Movement of Australia that you do.
Yeah.
And you are a big brother to other people who are coming to you for that mind training and that healthy well-being as well. So I think that's the gold in you, that you're a big brother and you love education and you love helping others to get the best out of their life as well. So
I do.
yeah, well done to you.
Thank
Well,
you.
you're obviously very fit and healthy and an inspiration to us all, that we can all live a life of longevity if we follow some of these keys. So thank you for sharing that with us today, Derek.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
No
Been great to
worries.
have you on the show. And you'll probably get a letter from the king.
So that's it for today's podcast. You'll find us on all the major podcast platforms. The podcasts come out every Wednesday. We'd love to hear from you on our socials, the Gold Diggers Podcast. Tell us about your story so we can find the gold in you.
Easy as pie, lemon, apple, or cherry. Loving you is so very sweet, sweet, sweet. How can it be such a piece of cake? And your smile is the icing. Loving you is a party. Honey, you're my sugar.